They're doing the transfer of the 6 troops that died on the C-135 that crashed the Stratotanker. Welcome in. Make sure you guys hit that like. We're just watching the troops get transferred. And I believe Trump is there as well. I'm not sure if they're transferring from here to Trump or if Trump is at this location. They're not really doing much with audio. So I know the news crews that are covering this are only getting to do video from a distance. Hey everyone, how's it going? We're just here watching the troops get transferred. The 6 that went down in the C-135. Well, and here's the thing, are we the 6 that we see here in the previous, what I think we're to 11 total, is that truly all who has passed away? Are they bringing everyone home? Yeah, we'll talk about BB as well. There's more video and more photos. Morning, everyone, or afternoon, or evening, I guess, depending on where you're at. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, a lot of people saying they think there's a lot more casualties. What's on our cams? I mean, look at all those, that's a lot of vehicles. They have the flag flying, the cranes up. Now, I don't know if this was all of them. Okay, yeah, I guess maybe they're doing it one by one. So it says procession for fallen U.S. service member, specifically Major Corey Cork, 35. So it looks like maybe they're doing one at a time. And I'll do my quick intro for YouTube. Welcome to the live stream. I will be covering updates on the war in Iran that are spread to other countries, and we'll also do live monitoring of any situations that arise. Hit that like on the way in. It helps the algorithm. And if you want to support in other ways, you can always become a channel member, pick up some merch, buy affiliate products on my Amazon storefront, or donate. All the links are down in the description. And thanks to all those that serve or have family that serve. And right now we are watching the procession of the 6 troops that died in these Stratotankers. The Stratotanker that went down. So it looks like they're bringing up one at a time and giving them their proper honors. And of course, we're still monitoring everything live here. It's been pretty quiet as far as alerts and warnings and all that stuff goes, at least in Israel and Beirut. There have been recent attacks in Bahrain and Iraq and the UAE. So I guess I can do the regular news updates while this is going on. There's no audio with it, so they're just showing each soldier get loaded and transferred. And for anyone joining, this is the 6 soldiers that went down in that Stratotanker from a supposed mid-air collision a few days ago. And if you aren't already, make sure you guys go check out my other channel, It's down there in the banner. Off script radio, we had 24/7 monitoring. So basically the same things you see here, minus me, will be over there, including the military radio and emergency action messages. All of that is live over on off script radio. And the idea is to keep it basically 24/7. And currently I have it set up for the Middle East. I will probably also set up one for Russia, Ukraine, and have them as two separate streams going at the same time. And I will try to get that set up later today. All right, so let's go ahead and do our updates. Iran's top leadership is being systematically targeted. Intelligence Minister Esmail Khatib was killed in an Israeli strike. Security Chief Ali Largini confirmed dead. He was the de facto Khamenei. And, he wasn't Khamenei, but he's the de facto leader after Khamenei. And supposedly Manshaba, Khamenei's son, is still alive in Russia and has gotten surgery and has some major injuries. Basij commander Gulrameza Soleimani was also killed. This marks multiple top-tier leadership eliminations in the last 24 hours, some in Lebanon, some in Iran. And Israeli policy reportedly now allows targeting senior Iranian officials without approval. So that takes it to a whole nother level. But you're going to see, Iran has said the same thing. They're basically say they're doing an eye for an eye. So that could make it significantly more elevated for attacks in the coming probably hours, but definitely next couple days. Iran launched large-scale missiles and drone barrages at Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, and Iraq. Civilian casualties are confirmed in Israel. It was a cluster munition. We saw a video on that. I do have it. We can play it back, but there's tons of it all over X. Lots of different angles, but we watched it live. Civilian casualties were confirmed in Israel. Attacks described as multi-warhead and widespread. So there's, from what I understand, depending on which one they use, there were 80 different pieces of that cluster munition. So when it goes, it breaks into 80 different pieces, and each one was big enough to basically take out a vehicle. So that's, I mean, you're talking major power there.
All right, so it appears that is the end of the feed that was coming in. Again, that
okay,
audio
so
was coming, and we wanted to bring it to you in full, as we always do here on Live Now from Fox. Also want to remind you that President Trump is en route over to Delaware, where that dignified transfer will take place of the 6 airmen who were killed in that refueling crash.
Okay, so it looks like that was them loading them to take them over to Trump for the transfer. So we'll see that on the other side. Hey, Kentucky girl, how's it going? Bella Bell, Taglatify, Tammy. See a lot of you in here. Make sure you guys thank the mods for the hard work they do. Like I said before, they barely know seconds before I go live, and they jump in when they can. Their help is much appreciated. Getting back to war news, this is definitely not an isolated Middle East type of thing. We see this spilling over into the entire world. So as far as energy escalation goes, like critical global conflict, major strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure. So the South Pars gas field, which we're going to see some pictures of, is the largest gas field in the world that was hit. And ever since that got hit, they said they're going to drastically increase their retaliation against the U.S. and Israel. And it's a oil and petrochemical facility. They're going to attack Saudi, UAE, and Qatar energy sites. They did issue, which I was surprised by, they did issue a warning to let people in the area know they were going to be attacking those sites. So hopefully that saves lives if that's the case. Oil prices surged about 6 to 8%. You can see right here it's at 97.03. I believe yesterday we were at 95. We got as low as, looks like 91.50 overnight. We have the Strait of Hormuz still effectively closed or restricted. U.S. and Israel activity is trying to prevent Iran from controlling shipping lanes. Trump initially was considering taking over the Strait of Hormuz or controlling it, but now it's seeming as though he's kind of playing his game that he plays, where he's going to kind of pull back and see if the allies jump in. He's going to basically leave them to their own devices. So we'll see what happens there. It's about 20% of the global oil supply goes through there. and this is the single most important economic choke point in the world, and at least right now. And then beyond, excuse me, beyond Iran, Lebanon, and the Gulf, Israeli strikes in Lebanon, they killed 12, 41 were injured. I heard there's over 1,000 so far of Hezbollah that have been taken out. Plans reported to destroy the infrastructure, which they've already hit some bridges. We have a video of that. And then Gulf states are now directly threatened and partially targeted. So the war is expanding on multiple fronts. So we're in week 3, and the war seems to be accelerating at the same time that Trump said that he can pull out basically whenever he wants. So we'll see what happens with that. There's over 2,000 total casualties reported. It's probably more than that. That's probably a very low number. But the Iranian regime, according to U.S. Intel, Tulsi Gabbard, they had a conference today, and basically was saying that like they're hurt, but they're not, they're not crippled, right? But they're not taken out enough. So I don't know what that means on our side, if we're going to step things up significantly or what. And this is no longer contained. So we know that China and Russia, China's thinking about making some moves on Taiwan. And we know that Russia has been stepping things up against Ukraine as well. So now that we're distracted and we're kind of stuck here at this point, they're going to take advantage, which makes perfect sense. Let's see. I'm just checking chat. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure people over on Offscript Radio knew about this over here. Looks like we're good. All right. Let me make sure we don't have any incoming or anything like that, and then we can get into our clips. Looks like Homefront Command, no current incidents. They definitely lit up on the map, but there's nothing incoming that I see. Same with rockets, so I think we're good at the moment. All right, let's go ahead and jump over to our clips. All right, just making sure. Yeah, I mean, the Joe Kent thing is, a lot of people have obviously very, the Joe Kent thing is tricky because I've heard two sides of it, and obviously we're not far enough into it to know exactly what's going on, but it seems like one side is saying that maybe he leaked stuff, maybe he was like not loyal to the U.S., and then the other side is saying that he's like the most loyal, and he served and did 11 tours and all that kind of stuff. So I'm still kind of torn on that. We'll have to see until some more stuff comes out, but as of right now, I'd say it's probably 50-50. Holisticology, thanks for becoming a channel member. Someone's asking why Nebraska is on fire. Is Nebraska on fire? Let's see. Wildfire alert. Nebraska. 700,000 acres of land burnt as Nebraska battles largest fire in state's history. Let's see. Was this a terror attack? Over 700,000 acres of land burnt as Nebraska battles largest fire in history. Nebraska confronting the largest wildfires. Is this going to tell me the full... 4 wildfires have burned 750,000 acres of land in central and western Nebraska collectively, largest in the state's history, resulted in 1 death. Roads closed. Interesting. So let's look at the, what's it called? The fire map. Not Nebraska, just fire map. I believe it is Air Now. All right, let's see here. So they must be referring to these ones out here. So Nebraska does get wildfires throughout the year. And they sometimes do controlled burns. So this doesn't sound like it's a controlled burn. Anderson Bridge, which one is... I'm not sure if it's going to tell me which one specifically is the big one, but it says central and western, so I would assume all this area. So not good. You can see, I mean, look at the other states. Look at Oklahoma. I mean, in comparison, Nebraska looks pretty tame, but yeah, huge wildfire obviously can be pretty dangerous. But thanks for sharing that. Yeah, Canadian wildfire. We have nothing on Canadian wildfires. I did see that George Webb mentioned something about Kent, and he was actually insinuating, he was the one I believe that shared a video on X that was insinuating that maybe Kent had some kind of like spy type of stuff going on, and he even possibly indicated him in like a supposed attempt on Hegseth or something similar. I don't know, you know, there's really nothing that was there to back it. It was just like a claim that was made in a quick video that was done. So I don't know if there's anything to that. We'll have to wait and see what comes out. All right. We had an Iranian missile impact on Bahrain. Like I was saying, Israel has been pretty quiet, but the other nations have been getting hit. They had a base. They blurred something out, so I'm not sure if this for you know, security reasons. There are explosions reported in Erbil and Baghdad at U.S. bases. This is Trump. This is him transferring over, getting ready to receive those troops. So the ones that we saw, if you were here early enough in the stream, they were loading the troops to fly them here, and Trump is there now waiting for them. So we'll see. I don't know if they'll have audio when that comes up, but we'll try and see if we can watch that live as well. This is Riyadh. Let me turn this down. I know you guys always say it's too loud. There were some ballistic missiles that went into Riyadh, and they hit. So they're not just using drones now, they're also sending much larger munitions. So, not good. That means they're stepping up attacks against our allies out there.
Haben wir aber auch klar gemacht, dass wir unverändert viele Fragen.
Okay, you speak in German. Basically, Chancellor Merz in Germany is saying that Washington did not consult us and did not declare that European aid was necessary. So he's basically saying Trump went in and did this on his own, or the U.S. went in and did this on their own, and they're responsible for whatever comes out of this. So he said they would have advised against this. So, and if you think about that, that's not good, because what about NATO, right? What about us having each other's back in Article 5 and that kind of stuff? So it doesn't look like if something happened to the U.S. that anyone would have our back at this point. Everyone seems to be pulling out. And then China's closely studying the U.S. war with Iran to learn from American military tactics and weaknesses. So China is studying us and what we're doing in Iran, and what we're doing incorrectly specifically. And officials say that they might take advantage of that. So hopefully nothing horrible comes out of that. It's kind of similar to Russia and Ukraine, right? And then we have Israeli strikes on that natural gas facility I was telling you about. And they're just saying here that it was approved by the U.S. because a lot of these strikes on gas infrastructure and oil were not approved. They weren't disapproved, but they were done by Israel on their own. And this is just saying that the U.S. approved of this one. This is a plane that was hit. This is at Ben Gurion Airport, and it just shows damage. The first time I looked at this picture, I had to like turn my head like 10 different ways, but basically this is the top of the fuselage up here, and you can see the seats down here. Turkey's Minister of Energy and Natural Resources said that they plan to expand nuclear energy, and they're going to build 8 new nuclear reactors. So that's a lot. But it makes you wonder, because these other countries that build nuclear reactors tend to seem like they're doing testing near those reactors. So not sure what the end game is there. This is some damage that happened. This is in central Israel. This was from the cluster munitions that have been coming in. And you can see, I mean, it's the type of damage these do when you have, 50, 80, 100 different cluster pieces that are coming down, just carpet bombing everything in the area. And a lot of their buildings are concrete, and a lot of them have bomb shelters. But you can see the damage. Took out the side of the building. looks like multiple hits in that spot. Doesn't look like just one hit there. Obviously looking for survivors and that kind of stuff, so not good. Not good. As far as if Ben Gurion is out of commission, I'm not sure 100% on that. I haven't seen anything to that effect. So I would say at this point, I would say it's probably just slowed down. And this was the gas stations that were hit from Hezbollah. They get pretty specific about where and what they hit and release these maps and stuff, but they're just energy infrastructure, really taking it out. And now it's starting to backfire because they're doing it to us and our allies. Trump temporarily waived the Jones Act. It required ships to, it was a law that required U.S. ships for domestic transport, and he's waiving that for 60 days to move supplies and things more easily. We're also going to see that Japan has made some moves to try to control the cost of oil. And then we also have some things on the European side. So it seems, and they also eased sanctions on oil that was processed before a certain date in Russia to also help flood the market to keep prices down. Trump hasn't decided whether to send U.S. troops into Iran to seize nuclear material yet. Did we know that was a thing? Has anyone heard about that? Did you know that was one of our plans, was to go in and seize the nuclear material? Put a 1 in chat if you knew that we were going to do that. Put a 2 if you weren't aware. The Pentagon has prepared options, but key uncertainties remain. Obviously, they want to get the enriched uranium. I've heard it's in gas form, so I don't know exactly how you transport it. Maybe it's like propane tanks or something. And then the U.S. believes that Iran's military is weakened, but worries it could disrupt oil shipping, which they've already been doing. And then we have Tulsi Gabbard. She had her meeting today. And, typically, like they do, they dodge a few questions and try to dance circles around things. But you'll see here, there's, a couple interesting things. Basically, one side of things is saying that Trump went into Iran because he was given information that made people think that we were in imminent danger of them attacking us. Now, I don't know if us means Israel or if us means the U.S., but they keep saying things about them creating these ballistic missiles that could reach the U.S. I keep hearing that over and over again.
During the past year, the IC assesses that Russia has maintained the upper hand in the war against Ukraine. U.S.-led negotiations between Moscow and Kiev are ongoing. Until such an agreement is met, Moscow is likely to continue fighting a slow war of attrition until they view their objectives have been achieved.
So in other words, Russia's winning, which you would expect, right? Russia's significantly larger, significantly more powerful military. So that's not surprising. But what does that mean long-term for the region? U.S. military struck 7,800 targets and sunk 120 ships in 18 days of the war with Iran. That's from Caroline Levitt. Trump is reportedly considering withdrawing U.S. forces from the Strait of Hormuz, leaving its defense to allies. So, very interesting. Because initially, even just like yesterday, the word on the street was that we're going to take it over and we're going to control it. And now he wants to pull out. I think this is kind of like his, that 4D chess or whatever people always talk about. Maybe he's like pulling back to scare them so they actually help. Because he's asked different countries and they said no. They don't want to have anything to do with it. And Tesla has temporarily enabled free supercharging at all its stations across Israel. This is her just quickly talking about the regime.
The IC assesses the regime in Iran appears to be intact but largely degraded due to attacks on its leadership and military capabilities. Its conventional military power projection capabilities have largely been destroyed, leaving limited options. Iran's strategic position has been significantly degraded.
And this is from the Iranian regime spokesperson. The United States and Israel will be driven into retreat. Their forces are facing defeat on the battlefield, and their leadership is focused on survival, not victory. They have only two options: leave the region or face destruction. So at this point, Iran is saying that they have the upper hand and they're going to win. Very interesting. Maybe they should call each other and get on the same page. This is updates so far. So it looks like, trying to see if there's any, okay, so yeah, 7,800 targets struck. They've had 8,000 combat flights. That's insane. 8,000. And of those 8,000, there's been basically one incident, right? Obviously, we had friendly fire that took down a few things. But during those flights, just that one shadow tanker refueler incident, that's pretty impressive, to be honest. 120 Iranian vessels sunk. And we're basically using everything across the board. This is our assets that are deployed. And types of targets looks like everything on the board. So this is all out. Remember, they said this was a conflict, an armed conflict. This definitely looks like a war to me. This is the list of Iranian leaders that are deceased now, that have been taken out. And it looks like there's these 4 major ones left. But they say that's not the full list. Again, we keep hearing that Iran would have missiles that would reach the U.S., and that is part of the reason why we started this whole campaign. Same thing, saying that Iran posed a threat at the time that this whole thing started.
That's absolutely correct. I think Iran has been a constant threat to the United States for an extended period of time and posed an immediate threat at this time. That's absolutely correct.
So now they're being questioned as to why this all started. And some of it is from, the advisors and people around Trump, including Marco Rubio, I believe, basically telling him that Iran's going to take us out. They're going to try and come after us. They're going to try and hurt people. So we have to make a move now. Whereas you have other people on the other side that are saying that we were pulled into this by Israel. This is showing different places that they said Iran wants us to evacuate because they're going to attack it. So remember I told you earlier that they sent out some communications for people to leave these areas. So they're getting back because we just hit their oil field and their gas field. J.D. Vance is saying, this is on Kent. Whatever your view is when POTUS makes a decision, your job is to help make that decision as effective and successful as possible. If you are on the team and you can't help implement the decisions of Trump's administration, then it's a good thing that you're gone, basically. So, he wants to surround himself by yes men and yes women. I'm not sure. I see you're asking about the interview. I'm not sure exactly what time that's at yet. And I believe that Candace Owens is also going to interview him at that Catholic event that they're doing. So that's something else, another chance to catch him. It looks like Trump and Netanyahu are on different pages. Behind the scenes, the U.S. officials see a potential split in how each country wants the conflict to end. So again, if we weren't pulled into this, then why would we have to worry about it being split on how they want to end it, right? Kind of interesting. This is a warthog laying down some fire.
شو تضرب هاي حاليا في قضاء دقوق حاليا في قضاء دقوق شوف الصوت
So that's what they're known for, is going into the war zones, maneuvering in, and then using kind of like CRAM style machine gun fire, extremely high rate. Saudi Arabia is hosting an emergency meeting, trying to de-escalate things in the region. There was this incident. I haven't seen anything else on it yet, but at MacDill Air Force Base in Florida, that's the headquarters of Central Command. They announced that it had a force protection condition raised from Bravo to Charlie. So we've seen some news coverage earlier, but there was nothing specific that came out about it. So that's something to watch. And actually, I just now, because it's here, I want to see if there's any updates on that. They didn't say if it was like a shooting or a bomb scare or what. They just raised their alert level. Let me see if they have something directly in their X feed. Yeah, I don't see anything currently. Let's see. They did a shelter in place due to threats made against the Air Force Base. They don't say what the threat was. And they said once more information becomes available, It looks like bomb techs are responding to a suspicious package at MacDill Air Force Base. So it looks like CENTCOM may have been targeted with a bomb or a possible bomb. Suspicious packages. Okay. Yeah. So looks like maybe an attempted attack. I'm not sure if they've officially stopped it yet, but yeah, we'll keep our eyes on that. That's obviously pretty important. And then there's several things that Tulsi Gabbard was asked about, and she just said things like, "I'm not aware of those remarks." I'm not sure how that carries over, but you know, typical politics. You just say just enough. You got to protect yourself, protect your administration, and that kind of thing. And then this is the U.S. drone was copied off the Shahed, and this is the Lucas, and this just kind of talks about how we've improved it, I guess, and why we use the original design.
Why did the US military steal the design of a cheap Iranian drone? Well, because it is terrifyingly effective. When its warhead makes contact, a firing pin strikes the primer, activating the detonator and setting off a massive explosion. But the US didn't just copy it.
I hear music, but basically we took their Shahed drone and improved it. And instead of using GPS, we used topographical mapping. So it uses like landmarks and that kind of stuff to figure out where it needs to go instead of GPS. So it's harder to jam. Price difference, $2.5 million for a typical like Tomahawk missile, $35,000 for the drone. And doing similar damage, right? Obviously you can put like a nuclear warhead on a Tomahawk, but pretty cool stuff. Obviously we copied it, so we copied their design. This is supposedly some footage of an Iranian drone that is flying into the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, and nothing stopped it. Nothing shot it down. So that tells you that they can penetrate the space. So this drone that's flying right now could have been a Shahed or something else, or have explosives on it or whatever, but this was basically just recon. So very interesting to see how easy they're just hanging out, filming. And you've seen videos in the past of them doing this over like the aircraft carriers and stuff like that too, in military bases in the U.S. So it's pretty, you know, not good security, but obviously it's hard to see everything. And then we have more warnings talking about these military targets. Iran is going to target the infrastructure, the oil and the gas and everything else in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. They did warn. And that's something they've been talking about for a long time. This is another list of the leaders that have been taken out. I am not going to read the names. I will butcher every single name. And then, yeah, a lot of this other stuff is just talking about everything that's been going on. So a lot of information, you know, a lot of like questions still that are open. Like there's things like, for example, like there's some Muslims that were in India and they got arrested, and they were on the Ganges or whatever river that is. What is that river? Yeah, Ganges River. And they're just eating and throwing food in the river. And you have to remember to India, this is a sacred place. So is this like a soft, you know, jihad or something, where they're just going around disrespecting other people's, you know, religious areas and things? I don't know, but kind of interesting. Yeah, I saw the Iron Maiden, for sure. For sure. Me and the kids have a cold. They're home. All the kids are home today. They're upstairs hanging out, relaxing. So there's some more Tulsi Gabbard stuff. I don't know if it's worth watching. This is always worth watching. This is a B-1 Lancer taking off. And this is one of the heavy bombers that we have. Beautiful planes. And someone made a good point the other day that, you know, the fact that these can be out there and drop bombs means that we basically have air superiority at this point, because not like the B-52 is not fast. The fact that it can go and drop bombs means that most of their air defenses and stuff must be gone, at least in those areas that they're hitting. We have more footage. showing us hitting different targets. This is interesting. So, actually, I think there's one more before that. Where is it? This one right here. So this is a U.S. warship that is believed to be carrying ground troops. So it's been tracked through passing near Singapore. So Trump hasn't officially ordered the troops, but it looks like they're being moved into position. So that tells me we're probably going to see something because they have to take control of certain areas. This is a building in Beirut that collapsed. And shortly after this, one of the guys who supposedly had like a condo or something in this building was pissed off and said that he worked his entire life, 20 plus years, to be able to buy that condo or that apartment, and the U.S. just took it away from him. So obviously there's going to be some things in war that are going to happen like that, but not good. Levitt says that we don't need the Strait of Hormuz. We have enough energy here for America, which might be another reason why Trump is thinking about pulling out, because we don't necessarily need it, at least as far as the U.S. directly is concerned short term. This is another image of that warship. And the close-up, I think that was the closest we got. So, but it does have helicopters, planes, and other things on it. So it's pretty decked out. It looks like it's more than ready for going on the ground. And then we have Secretary of NATO, Rutte, basically saying that we're going to be challenged by Russia in the next, what would that be, between 1 and 5 years, which I think they've been saying that for quite a while, to be honest. The missile gate at Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas, was shut following an incident that is currently under investigation. So that is a second base, a separate one from what we talked about earlier. We have one in Florida and one in Texas. They both had separate incidents that were security incidents under investigation. So it looks like they're starting to target the sleeper cells and things in the U.S. might be starting to target this stuff. And obviously not good for safety of the troops on the bases and stuff, but also not good for the American people, because obviously if they're here and they can target them, they can target us. This is Iranian security forces, and they're changing clothes so that they won't be targeted. And we see some instances too where they dress like women. They put on burqas and all the headdress and everything to hide their identity. So they're using all the tactics to try to stay incognito. And I don't know if you've heard or not, but the Iranian football team, the players, the women that were in Australia, most of them have returned home, and there's only like 2 left, I believe. And I think part of the reason is because they were pressured by Iran, basically maybe threatening their families or something. I don't know that officially, but it seems like they, in the end, chose to go back, which is interesting. Obviously, I think their family was a huge part of it. And then we have this. This was the gas field that was hit. South Pars natural gas field, the largest one in the world in Iran. So this was struck and damaged. And it's extremely, extremely important. This was the official warnings from the Revolutionary Guard. This is for Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. So this is kind of similar to the leaflets that Israel sends out. They put these out to warn civilians, maybe military too, to get out of the way because they're coming. So that's kind of it's kind of where we're at. There hasn't been, obviously the base is being threatened is very serious, and then obviously the attacks that have been happening are serious, but it seems like things have slowed down quite a bit. Fire's still in Saudi Arabia. I'm just looking for any last minute updates since we were just... Yeah, so I don't see anything else that's coming in. I don't see any warnings either, interestingly enough. We did have some earlier. We definitely had some attack messages come in from military radio. So I think what I'll do... Let's see. Bell Be Good, thanks for the super sticker. And I don't know if you know if you can do a super chat, then you can actually ask a question or comment or something, but definitely appreciated. Better listen to Kentucky. She doesn't mess around. Debbie said she has a friend that did 20 years in the Navy in Baghdad bombing, was with the first Bush. So I watch, someone's talking about Redacted. They did a great show on the war. I'm torn on them. They, like one day they'll say, war is bad. This is terrible. Anyone that wants war is horrible and all this kind of stuff. And then the next day they're talking about alien babies that were discovered that are like eating our brains. You know what I mean? Like it's like way far ends of the spectrum. So it's almost like any story that's contradictory or crazy, they just throw out there and hope it sticks. But obviously they've been doing it for a long time. They've been professional reporters and journalists for a long time, so they're good at what they do. But sometimes some of the stuff I see on them, I'm like, really? Like, did you guys talk about this before you went live? I see people asking about Netanyahu. So there is, let me pull this up too. There's some more, where is it at? So we saw the videos and images that came out yesterday with Mike Huckabee, and it was on both of their accounts, Mike Huckabee and Netanyahu. They both had images, they both had video, and then some new video came out of this cabinet meeting. So this right here was the video. So it's them walking and talking and hanging out. And someone pointed out that Mike Huckabee's face looked like it stretches or moves weird, almost like it was like AI or
Mr.
something.
Prime Minister, I wanted you to know the president asked me to come and make sure you were okay.
Yes, Mike. Yes, I'm alive.
I checked that, and I'm happy to see that. But he wanted to make sure because, you guys go.
So the things they're saying and the way they're moving and stuff seems like almost like they're trying too hard to prove that he's alive, but this would be the proof of life. And then there was also this here. This is
Defense Minister.
Basically, no matter what they put out, people are trying to tear it apart, right? But they're saying that this room, like the way the vents are, is incorrect. They're saying this was like a room that was put together. They had everyone sit in these seats. This is not me saying this. This is the people that posted these. And if you look, you don't really see any of the guys react to anything he's saying. Almost like they're just sitting in the room and he's not there. And then they're digitally putting him in there. It's hard to know.
I'm here with Israel's Defense Minister, our Chief of Staff, the head of the Mossad, the Chief of Air Force, our senior commanders. In the past 24 hours, we knocked out 2 of the terrorist chieftains, the top terrorist chieftains of this tyranny. Our aircraft are hitting the terror operatives on the ground, in the crossroads, in the city squares. This is meant to enable the brave people of Iran to celebrate the Festival of Fire. So celebrate and Happy Nowruz. We're watching from above.
And then that was weird too. We're watching from above. So, I mean, based on what I'm just looking at it, and obviously this isn't like super high resolution or anything, but it would seem like he's alive, right? He's alive. He's doing his meetings and stuff, but he's typically way more visible. He typically does like news conferences and like press releases and that kind of stuff where where it's very obvious that it's him. And I think this might just be AI where everyone's just saying that, basically no matter what they release, people say it's AI now. Looks like we have some incoming. Where's this headed towards? This is... So this is drones. Looks like incoming drones from Lebanon. No, wait, let's see. Yeah. This is up in the northern Israel. more drones. They typically seem to intercept these before they get near, before they would, trigger any of the alarms and stuff. So, pretty good chance. I don't think anything is going to get through. They're usually pretty good about taking out the drones. All right, what time is Trump supposed to receive the troops? Looks like they're going to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. I don't know where they're flying from. I don't know where they actually loaded them at. I guess we'll see if there's any actual incoming here in a second. Oh, looks like there's missiles and drones. And remember, they're they're a little irritated about the gas field, largest in the world, getting hit. So another warning for all these different gas and oil infrastructure areas in the Gulf states. And now we have drones and missiles incoming to Israel. So I think this is like their retaliatory strike.
Administration is sending young Americans to die overseas. And that means our government leaders need to treat this conflict with life and death seriousness. Instead, they don't even have the decency to level with the American people. Yet another lie from the Trump administration was about the horrific U.S. military strike on an elementary school in the early days of the war. Last week, a preliminary investigation by the Department of Defense confirmed that it is likely that it was our own military that bombed a girls' school in Iran. This is one of the most devastating military mistakes in decades. 175 people were killed. Most of them were children. Now, before the investigation, Trump said over and over that the attack was done by Iran. But even after the investigation, Trump kept lying to the American people. He said, quote, he didn't know about the investigation, an investigation done by his own military on one of the most horrific military mistakes in recent history. And remember, Pete Hegseth gutted the office that was in charge of preventing civilian harm. How do I know? I led the charge to establish that office in the first place. Hegseth is also purging the military's legal experts, the people who act as legal guardrails, and ordered a, quote, ruthless overhaul to make sure that no one else who might question him is left standing. It is a betrayal of our service members and a betrayal of the American people that we still have no answers and no accountability. So what would accountability look like here? Well, for starters, Pete Hegseth should be fired immediately. Hegseth's long pattern of chaos and incompetence has put our service members and the American people at risk. And we haven't even scratched the surface of.
So I just want to say for this, obviously, no matter what war it is, no matter who's in charge, it's going to put service members at risk. So that's not really, it's not really a big thing. It's a big thing that they're at risk, but it's not a big thing that she's saying that, because that happens with every war, every single time, no matter what it is. And every war, no matter which one we've had, everyone's always said the same thing. They always say it's never necessary and that it's not needed. But it's, you know, is that true? You have to have some wars to keep things balanced, unfortunately. So looking at this, I want to check out our Poseidons first. See if anything's active. This one's just getting going. Heading down near Oman. Okay, so now this is it. We'll come back to Florida here in a second, because I think that might be related to that Air Force base. Okay, so they're all just taking off now. But I want to come down here and see if there's anything happening since that Air Force base had the bomb threat out here. Okay, so we have some activity. So we had some circling down here by the Bahamas, and typically these are looking for nuclear subs from like Russia or China. Had some activity down there. They also just do overall surveillance and recon. That one went down there as well. Interesting. Is there something down the Bahamas? And then we have this one out here. Doing a pretty large area, actually. So again, we have, you know, Mar-a-Lago. Stuff out here that we have to be watching for the president. So that's interesting. I'm gonna do a quick screenshot of this. All right. And of course we have lots of tankers, always. I haven't seen any drones lately, which is interesting. We had multiple each day that were hanging out. No, there's none. There was one in Qatar and one off the east coast of Cyprus hanging out over here. I don't know, can you see my mouse? I assume you can see my mouse. If not, then it's probably kind of hard to follow me. But we have all our tankers. We have Globe Masters transiting. So, I mean, kind of business as usual at this point, except for those Poseidons over Florida. Strait of Hormuz, it does look more congested to me now than it did a few days ago. The last week or so, it seemed like there were less vessels in here. And where's our legend? Do we have a legend? I don't see one. But these red dots and red triangles, it seems like there's a lot more of them in here. Like there's more congestion stuck in there. You can see it. All right, thanks. Die fabulous. I'm like, hey, look at this over here, and like circling stuff. You guys can't even see it. Putting on pizza, we do have a 333% spike at Papa John's, which if I had to choose between all these, it'd be Papa John's, right? That'd be my first choice. Typically, you would see multiple of these go up, but for anyone that's not familiar with this pizza index, it's basically an indicator of how busy the Pentagon and the government is in that area. So when you see these flashing on this site, which, by the way, all the sites that I use are basically open source and free, but this Papa John's is up right now. As far as radiation goes, we're basically the same as we were. There's actually less radiation right now, at least less showing, right? They're not always on the meters, but you know, we have a couple reds typically at any given time in the U.S. But this here has been red basically since around the time the war started in Dubai. So it's at 205, which isn't like crazy high, but interesting that kind of showed up. Let me Turn down that wind. Okay. But yeah, that one in Dubai has just kind of been hanging out there. I'm not sure exactly what that is. As far as earthquakes go, we did have one yesterday in Iran, but the areas in general are pretty quiet. They only show things above 2.5. Obviously, they have multiple smaller ones throughout the day. And we can see what gas did overnight, or crude oil, I should say. But went down pretty low, got down to 91.52, and now the high is 98.53. So, I mean, it's normal for it to jump around. Opened at 95.27. But yeah, I think the intel that's most interesting to most people is flight radar. So, if you go to this website, I'll share it in chat. But if you go to this website, they do have some free stuff that you can see. And let's see what this is here. Man, I'm blasting my volume to barely hear you, and when the clips play, they blast the entire building. Are you are you saying that you can't hear my microphone? Or are you just saying the clips are way, way too loud? I'm guessing the second one. I know a lot of those clips are significantly louder than they should be. I usually put them to about half or less. Hit that like. Shows YouTube you enjoy this type of content. Someone says my mic is too low. Let's see here. Testing. Mic check. Okay. Boosting it up a little bit. And checking my overall level coming out. Test. Is that any better? That should be a decent amount louder. I think maybe it's low in comparison to the clips, possibly. Some are saying it's low, some are saying it's fine. Someone says better. All right. Well, as long as it's not blasting out your ears, then it's probably pretty decent. I'll just work on making those clips a little bit less. I think it's mostly just the clips, right? Is it the news too? Is the news too loud? Let me play it here really quick and you can let me know.
Of federal intelligence,
like that right
community
there.
Components.
Is that a good level?
This was a threat not only to us and our interests, but also to our allies in the region. And the idea that we would sit back and do nothing while Iran acquires a nuclear weapon is just sheer madness. Again, what you have to ask yourself, why would our Democratic colleagues say, well, that's okay, we're not going to do anything, when the Iranian regime has had American blood on its hands and responsible for killing Americans over the years since the Iranian Revolution in 1979. And can you imagine them getting access to a nuclear weapon, what that would do to the Middle East and world peace, and then acquiring the ballistic missile capability, be able to deliver that weapon thousands of kilometers away? Well, the very least thing that would happen is all the Gulf states would start to acquire nuclear weapons, and we'd have a nuclear arms race. And who knows what would be the outcome of that. So I don't know what it is about the way Democrats react to President Trump's proposals. It seems like they want to take the opposite view of President Trump no matter what it is. They wouldn't even stand up at the State of the Union when he said, stand up if you believe that we ought to enforce our laws and we ought to celebrate the people who keep our communities safe. And virtually all the Democrats sat on their hands because the last thing they would want to do is be found to agree with President Trump, even about something as obvious as that. So they picked the side of illegal immigration and non-enforcement of our immigration laws, which is proved to be unmitigated disaster during the Biden administration, and we're now having to clean up for that mess. So it just is amazing to me that we find ourselves at this particular time in our nation's history where we are so polarized and where there is no willingness to try to work together in the best interest of the country. So here we are on a bill that would require only American citizens to vote and that you need a photo ID in order to cast your ballot. Well, our Democratic colleagues are, of course, doing what they usually do under these circumstances and saying this legislation will disenfranchise voters. Well, it will disenfranchise illegal aliens. It will disenfranchise non-citizens. That's the point. And they don't want to do that? Well, again, you have to wonder why. Is that because they want non-citizens, illegal immigrants, to be able to vote? Well, we know for every illegitimate vote cast that it undermines and dilutes the vote of those of us who are American citizens and who are entitled to cast a ballot. Well, I don't really get it. They're certainly appealing to a slice of the American electorate that I have a hard time understanding. But they ought to at least tell the truth. And the truth is, we are perfectly capable of making sure that this bill does not disenfranchise any American citizen, and that every American citizen who's entitled to vote can get a government-approved voter ID. We already do that in many of the red states like Texas. It's just some of the blue states where they like lax voting integrity laws. And you have to, again, wonder why that is. And it doesn't lead you to a very pleasant or welcome conclusion. Well, we all know, as I said, that public opinion is on the side of this legislation. 71% of voters under a recent Harvard-Harris poll, including 50% of Democrats and 69% of independent voters, support the Save America Act. A 2025 poll from the Pew Research Center showed 83% of voters. You don't get consensus like that very often on any particular issue. But it included, that 83% included 71% of Democrats that supported requiring a photo identification when someone casts their ballot. These are apolitical polling organizations. They're not funded by Republican donors, and they don't have ties to any political operatives on the right. So the idea that Republicans are somehow trying to ram through a piece of partisan legislation, there's no evidence of that.
All right, as you see there, we were listening into the Republican Senator John Cornyn on the floor, but right now, Jerome Powell now speaking on interest rates. Let's listen.
You got to tell you, I'm probably not gonna listen to interest rates. It's pretty boring. I can imagine doing the news like they do. 1 second they're like, holy crap, 95 kids were just discovered, severed from head to toe at this person's house. How tragic is that? Oh, now we're going over here. Wendy's has a new burger. It's like that back and forth between the different emotions and stuff. I have alarms going off in my ear like crazy. I muted them for you guys so you don't have to suffer through it. So we may have some incoming here shortly. Lots of alarms going off. I'm gonna see if we have some updated live cams as well. We had several that went down. I don't know if they were ordered to be down, because I know that's the thing. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like there's only one company that has them up. Yeah, they had several. Last couple of days, there was probably 6 or 7 different places that had them, and then over time, they've ordered them to stop recording, especially when there's hits. And then now they're saying it looks like they're taking them offline. So that's how censorship works. That's funny. Spade Coffin. Do you know why Wendy's has square burgers? Because they don't cut corners. Spade Coffin, thanks for becoming a channel member as well. Oh yeah, quick update. So I think a lot of you guys know that my main laptop that I was using for off-script radio for the 24/7 live monitoring, that one crashed, and I took it in to get repaired, and they basically said that it was past warranty, and the issue that it has is a common issue that goes back years on all the different ones they've sold, and they weren't going to do anything about it. So I'd like to see how much it would cost to fix it, and it was more than half the price, like the cost of because it's like a nice, like, you know, newer gaming laptop, and they said it would cost more than half of that. You know, like I think 14 or 1500, something like that is what they quoted to fix it, which is insane because that's like more than half the price that it costed. So I went and got another laptop. Some of you yesterday sent me a bunch of super chats and stuff, and I got some donations as well on like PayPal, so I appreciate that for sure. It's very, very helpful. But I was able to go get a laptop and set it up, and that's what I've been using so far for the 24/7 stream. And it seems like so far it seems pretty stable. It's sitting right next to me. It's been running for 15 hours straight, and looks like it's doing good. So definitely appreciate that. And appreciate Kentucky Girl being here modding, and everyone's favorite, Nightbot in the house. Yeah, could you imagine a 27-inch laptop? And actually, it's interesting because this is like, I was asking, I don't know if anyone knows about this stuff, but a lot of people end up getting like the brand that I bought. I still have to talk to the people involved with this particular one, because I might try to, like, you know, the lemon law, how if someone sells you something and it's just a piece of crap, the warranty doesn't matter, they have to replace it. It might hopefully end up being a situation like that, but there's certain brands that are great for just the computer, like if you're just using it for everyday stuff. But when you get into like their gaming computers, then that's when you start having problems, because there's all kinds of different drivers and issues you can run into. So I would definitely, anytime you go buy one, I would go through all the forums and search online for commonly known issues, because there's a ton of them that look great on paper, and they'll do good for like the first year, and then they'll basically, after you get past the warranty, then they'll crash and die. So we had all those warnings and stuff come in. I'm looking to see, and those are missiles, by the way. Those missile warnings, and looks like near Jerusalem, so central Israel. So we have drone and missile alerts, or maybe rockets, in northern Israel near Lebanon, and then we have like west coast Jerusalem has missile alerts right now, so we may see those coming here in a few minutes, unless they intercept them all. But I think they're trying to launch larger strikes right now because they're PO'd about their oil field. If you guys ever want to send me anything, you can send it on X. It's TriggerSmart HQ. And if you want to email me something, it's engcwarrior@gmail.com. I do receive a decent amount of stuff, but I try to read everything. There's also, make sure you guys hit that like. It's the only thing that pushes this out. Off-script radio is where I do the 24/7 monitoring. If you're interested at all, off-script radio, all one word, and it will get you over there. And I restart the stream 1 or 2 times a day, so you may have to switch once or twice. But I know some people enjoy just listening to the military radio and having the live cams and stuff available when they're just working or sitting around the house or something like that. So kind of chill. I will probably I'm not sure exactly which date I'll move this over from TriggerSmart to off-script radio for these, like the war stuff, because I want to keep my channel, you know, I want to keep it as clean as possible. Obviously, I have the firearms stuff and Charlie Kirk stuff, but and some some Big E stuff, we'll say. But I don't want to keep mixing other stuff in with it because it'll mess up the algorithm. So a lot of creators' views are already down as it is, and a lot of people are very their income is drastically down as of late because the changes they make to the home screen on YouTube. Everyone is basically getting shorts instead of long form content. So stuff like this, these live streams don't even get seen. Do I have live chat over there? Yes, there is live chat over there to talk, but it's not like a lot of times I'm not talking, but I'm chatting. You know, there's a bunch of people that go over there and chat. They'll have full conversations. They'll talk about what they cooked for dinner that day and how they made it and where they found the recipe, all the way to war stuff, right? A lot of people make friends that way. I've seen, Pitsy, you're saying, where does the ribbon information come from? Are you talking about the ribbon information? Are you talking on off-script radio? I'm not sure what you mean by ribbon. If you can be more specific about where and what you're talking about, I can enter that one for you. Oh, the ticker. Yes. So for that, typically what I do is I'll do several searches. I do searches on Grok, searches on ChatGPT, and then I look at the news, like the latest updates. And then I basically like condense that down to be as like small as possible. And then I put that in the ticker. Usually the last like 12 to 24 hours. Let's see. East Coast Audit, I appreciate that. And thanks again to the mods and channel members. I will, I'll do an announcement when this stuff is going to move permanently over to off-script radio for the war stuff. But I'll do these same type of updates like I'm doing right now over there and run the 24/7 stream. And then I'll be doing the investigative stuff and all of the things I've been doing on my channel before. We'll stay over here on TriggerSmart. Let's see. Let me pull this up here really quick. Looks like we lost Beirut. Like I said, these live cams are starting to dwindle down for what's available. They're starting to censor everything. But over here, look on this side. This is off-script radio. And, you know, by TriggerSmart, so people know that it's me. But you can see we have a 24/7 stream going right now. I've done a few. These were kind of the test ones. And then this current one is, you know, that's kind of the permanent one. Hopefully, if this laptop and everything holds up, which it looks like it is, then we'll just keep doing this and keep running it. It'll probably be like 23/7 because you have to have time to restart and that kind of stuff at least once a day. But this one here, if you go into this, you'll see a lot of the same or similar stuff. You can hear the radio in there as well. But you can see us, you know, people chatting, hanging out, having fun. And then we have our live cams, rocket alerts, and that kind of stuff. And then we have our intel. And it cycles through the different screens and the different cameras and stuff like that. So, yeah, let's see. Someone said, can I build one? Can I build one? What? What am I building? Yeah, they cut Lebanon. Yeah, I mean, as far as them not pushing, I use OBS Studio, but as far as them not pushing my stream, I don't know if that's a them thing or a me thing. And the reason I say that is because if you look at my channel and the stuff I've covered, I've gone from covering firearms training, which was the start of this channel, and did that for probably 6 months. And then I covered Charlie Kirk for like 3 months. And now I'm doing war updates and current events. So none of those three things are related to each other at all. I mean, they have some overlap here and there, but it's not the same audience, right? So I think what's happening is a combination of not being pushed, because what happens is YouTube will show this type of stuff to the Charlie Kirk audience, and they'll show Charlie Kirk type of stuff to the firearms audience. And obviously, if people aren't interested in that, they're just going to skip right over it. And then that tells YouTube that there's no good content. So it's not the best situation. Let's see. I'm late to join. Is Offscript going to be on YouTube? Offscript is up, and Offscript is has a 24/7 stream going. And then these war updates will start to be over there probably as early as like Friday, Saturday. It will be switched over. And then I'll be back to doing Charlie Kirk and other stuff. And I really want to get into the declassified UAP and UFO files. I was going through those. There's some very, very interesting stuff in there. Like, some of it blew my mind. And then they have interviews as well. Let's see. East Coast Audit, definitely appreciate the super chat. Someone says they don't have cable TV. I don't either. Let's do a quick vote. Lou Elizondo, I have to look that up. Let's do a quick vote. If you have cable TV, put a 1. If you depend 100% on streaming and internet, put a 2. I haven't had cable TV since, I think it's been over 20 years since I've had cable. Well, looks like it's pretty well, maybe more online. We have a couple of cablers there. I think the people that have cable are mostly people that watch sports a lot. You know, they want their ESPN and CNN packages. I know there's like, what is it, ESPN 1 through 50, you know? Like one for each country, for each sport. Wow, yeah. Mostly looks like everyone's pretty much online as far as that goes. That's pretty awesome, actually. But that just goes to show you. And now, the main reason a lot of people got into it, I need to fix that cam. The main reason a lot of people got into watching online is because they wanted to save money from cable. And now you look at most people, they have like 7 different things that they're paying like $20 or $30 to for service. It probably costs about the same or more than cable. Let's see. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go check on the kiddos. Let's see. Camera looks great. Yeah, so this, I don't know if a lot of you have been here in a while, but I did like a studio update. I have multiple cameras. I'm just using one right now because I want to get the laptop and stuff set up for the live stream, for the 24/7 stream. But I think everything's in a good spot. The only other major thing I'm adding is, I don't think I can show you this. Nope, I can't reach it. There's a little radio. It's a receiver, and that's what you hear the military radio on. But typically what you would do is you would have one channel playing, the main one, which is 8992. And then you have another one, a separate radio that scans and just constantly looks for any other military stuff coming off of like 5 or 6 other channels. So today I'm supposed to receive one that has 2 receivers in one unit. So I can be locked on the main one and cycle through the other ones at the same time. So that'll give us a lot more information. So what I will do is when that's set up, I'll add that to the 24/7 stream. But I'm not seeing anything else coming out. We had those alerts and stuff come out, but it looks like they just cleared it. So Home Front Command said the incident is clear. That was from the, oh, hold on. Menara, where's this? Where is that located? Is that the same area? Jerusalem? Looks like they have more missiles incoming. But I haven't heard or seen anything on the cams, so I would assume that they've intercepted all of them. All right, let me see if there's another Beirut cam. It's kind of strange that they... More missiles. Ooh, we're getting lit up now. Let's see if anything comes in here in the next few minutes. Those are rocket alerts as well. That's for northern Israel. Interesting. Did they turn off audio on that one? Yeah, I mean, live cams are almost down to nothing at this point. I would have thought Beirut would have been. So let's see, AP. It looks like the large news networks have taken theirs down, and some of the smaller, more independent ones are still airing, which is interesting. Let's see, so this is Beirut. Is this? Did they just start this one?
This is Level.
Yeah, we don't want commercials. Let's see. Yeah, I think this is the updated version now. We'll see if anything comes in. I would assume we'd see some attacks back to Beirut if there's rockets coming in. Usually it's kind of an eye for an eye over there. You'll see some come in from Beirut and hit Israel, and then Israel will hit them back with some larger strikes shortly after. All right, so that's our updated Beirut cam. You can hear gunfire. And maybe rocket launches. I'm not sure how loud those are, but they're launching into Israel. All right, so we should be good there. I'm going to double check Tel Aviv. Usually anything that we're going to hear, anything major, is going to come from the bottom right cameras. That's usually where we hear the sirens and everything and the alerts. You hear that cat? was that a cat? It was just screaming. Oh, man. Okay, so it looks like I think I have the latest Tel Aviv cam as well. Let me double check. So that'll be 4. I think it's the same one. It is not the same one. So it looks like, oh, they ended it on all of them. Interesting. I don't know if we have any more besides the one in the bottom right corner of the screen. I don't know if we have any other Israel cams that are available. I could probably look into, wait, let's see. Yeah, it's ended on multiple networks. Is that rain? Sounds like rain. We have more alerts coming in. They've cleared a few areas. We have more missiles incoming. So it looks like that was just like 3 different, 1, 2, 3, 4 separate launches of missiles towards Israel. And 2 have been cleared. There's 2 more that are still open. All right, so this might be a live cam here for Tel Aviv. Let's see if this actually works. Looks like a lot of them were taken down or paused. All right. Yeah, I think we're back up good now. So we have Beirut and Tel Aviv. And then we have all these guys here, covering most of Israel. All right, we'll give it a few minutes and see if anything happens, see if they have anything get past their first line of defense.
To what extent would you agree with that, and to what extent would you think we're in a different place today? Thank you.
You know, it's really hard to say until we see the situation, the actual situation. In some circumstances, that might be the right case. In fact, for example, if we do see the kinds of disinflationary progress that we expect to see due to tariffs that I mentioned, I think it's hard to say, and it will depend to some extent on the size and duration of the effects we're seeing on prices, and it will depend a lot on what we can see.
Is immediate. The Israeli timeline is national survival. Iran doesn't threaten the U.S. national survival. It does threaten Israel's national survival. So, of course, their goals are different. The U.S. has been able to control Israel in the past. That's no longer the case.
David's just pointed out the goals of each country are different here. And so if the goals are different, Ariel, how does one or two countries get out of this conflict? Where is the end game going if they have different objectives they want to achieve?
First of all, a regime that builds ballistic arsenal and enriches uranium, as the Iranian
ballistic nuclear missiles
told Witkoff, to 60%, will not ever stop at Israel. Okay, number one. Number two, the Israeli-American relationship, while it's not a treaty alliance, it is a very close partnership, and it's a close alliance. So for the United States to sit there and watch at a potential existential threat, as David said, to Israel is unacceptable. And finally, in terms of getting out of it, the purpose, and President Trump said it repeatedly, the purpose of this war is to degrade the Iranian nuclear and ballistic missile potential, to defang that regime. Whether that regime will survive or not, we don't know yet. But it won't be in the position to threaten Gulf states, Israel, Europe, etc. And sooner or later, the Iranian remaining leadership, because a lot of these people were already eliminated, will come to a conclusion that it's time for them to stop.
Is that the same end goal, though, in its totality as Israel? We have seen, I think it's been described as an assassination campaign, or strategy rather, today with earlier guests, about how Israel is carrying out the number of targeted killings of senior Iranian leadership members. And so that is not directly striking a military or a nuclear facility, which is what the US seems to be focused on.
It's taking out a leadership that directed the programs of ballistic arsenal, of their proxies, terrorist organizations. For 47 years, the Iranians are running around the world, murdering domestic opponents, murdering the Jewish community in Argentina, attacking Israel through proxies, etc. So sooner or later, that leadership...
The foreign minister, though, has pointed out, Abbas Araghchi has said, this is not one person here and one person over there. You fail to understand, if you do not accept that there is an entire structure here that keeps going, the machine keeps running, you fail to understand how to win this war.
Sooner or later, that leadership will come to its senses, because the price of their paying in terms of the oil infrastructure, in terms of their military-industrial complex, in terms of the nuclear enrichment facility, the price will be too high. They will need to stop, and promised what President Trump said. Stop. Let me finish. Stop enriching, stop building ballistic missiles, and stop funding the proxies.
Can we talk about that, David? The price will be too high for America at some point, won't it?
Well, the price for America is going to be too high for America to bear, well before it's too high for Israel to bear. With all due respect to my friend Ariel, we have very different perspectives on this. And I believe that the policies followed by past administrations, including by President Trump for 5 years, of understanding that a fragmented, perhaps fractured Iran at civil war, all kinds of possibilities that are worse than what's happening right now is worse for U.S. long-term strategic interest than what was the case before.
Yeah.
It wasn't the case for
Daryl, I'm so sorry. And I appreciate I needed to let David have a point there. Thank you both, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, the question of whose interest the Iran war serves has been fodder for social media on Capitol Hill and across the wider US. Here's Alex Baird with how the narrative's been playing out online.
Well, this debate has deep roots. Let's go back to June last year, just hours after Israel launched a surprise strike against Iran. Conservative influencer Charlie Kirk asking if the US should get involved. Around 90% said no. Kirk was later shot dead, but that sentiment lives on. After the outbreak of war earlier this year, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth let this slip.
To our steadfast partner, Israel, your mission is being executed with unmatched skill and iron.
That line, your mission is being executed, fuel to the fire, as to whether this war is Israel or America first. Democrat Bernie Sanders saying Netanyahu wanted war with Iran and Trump just gave it to him. Across the conservative spectrum, commentators like Candace Owen framing the war as serving Israel, or as she calls it, World War BB. The cracks laid bare with this resignation letter from Joe Kent, the head of the National Counterterrorism Center. But like most things in the States, fractures are everywhere. White House press sec Caroline Leavitt responding with this, ending that the war is America first. Other conservative voices like Mark Levin maintaining this is America's operation, but in lockstep with its closest ally, Israel. Some on the right claiming instead that the Israel first narrative is a distraction, simply an attempt to split the right.
Well, that's all for now from Washington, D.C. On This Is America, we'll keep following the decisions that shape the US and influence the world. And now we'll head back to Al Jazeera's global headquarters in Doha. Thanks for watching.
Okay, that was an awkward silence. So now I get why they use music to transition.
Oil facilities inside Iran.
This is one. And they're using it again. So give me just 1 second. I'll let the music they're playing play out. For those that aren't aware, they will demonetize our videos if the music plays because the music's copywritten. I'm very surprised that we have not had. They haven't cleared those missiles yet. So are we looking at some incoming here shortly?
And Israeli attacks on Iran. Here are the latest developments.
Wow, they're still doing the music.
Same targets after it.
Let's see, Meredith, I wasn't aware they took down a Fleet's video. Which video was that? Is that the one where they were like Power Rangers or something? Let's see. Was it 80 Fleet or something like that? Yeah, 80 Fleet. Let's see. They had one from 5 hours ago. Charlie Kirk. So they have one from Candace calling Ben Shapiro a maggot. And Charlie Kirk stood by Candace always. They have one from 19 hours ago, one from 5 hours ago. I'm not sure which one got taken down. I'm not going to show their stuff. They're actually this is pretty entertaining. I'm not going to lie. But I don't want to have copyright issues or have them get angry that I showed it. So, but you can go over to the channel, AD Fleet, FLEET, and they have some little skits over there, kind of similar to The Office.
Israeli strike. The assassination took place on funerals, or as funerals rather, were being held for two other senior officials. Ali Larijani and Gholam Reza Soleimani were killed in Israeli strikes on Tuesday. Large crowds of mourners attended the ceremony in Tehran. Israel has vowed to continue targeting senior figures in Iran.
We'll continue to thwart and hunt them all down. Over the course of this day as well, significant surprises are expected in all arenas that will raise to a new level the war we're waging against Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon.
On Israel's second front, Lebanon has also been under relentless attacks. Israeli airstrikes have targeted several areas of the country, killing 21 people on Wednesday. Most of the fatalities happened in the capital, Beirut. And Ali Hashim is standing by for us in Tehran. But first, let's go to Victoria Gatenby here in Doha, that's Qatar's capital. Victoria, earlier we were speaking, there were evacuations at Qatar's Ras Laffan LNG installations. That's after the Iranian threats, of course. What is the latest on that now?
Yes, so in the last 30 minutes or so, we've had a statement from Qatar Energy to say that its Ras Laffan industrial complex has been targeted with missiles. That has caused widespread fires, which they're now having to deal with. And there has been, what it confirms, is extensive damage to that facility. It says its emergency teams were on site immediately. There have been no reports of any injuries and that all workers were safe. Now, that facility hours ago was evacuated because Iran had said that it would target that facility and 4 more facilities across the GCC region in response to targeted attacks on its gas field. So this is a major development here in Qatar. That plant up in the northeast of the country it's the largest LNG production facility in the world. Qatar itself produces 20% of global LNG production. So this is what Qatar's wealth is built on, and it's now saying that that facility has been extensively damaged by Iranian missiles. We've had a statement in the last few minutes from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It expresses its strong condemnation and denunciation of what it calls the brutal Iranian targeting of Ras Laffan Industrial City, which it says has caused fires that resulted in severe damage to that facility. It goes on to say that Qatar has done its very best to stay out of this war, but the Iranian side, it says, continues its escalatory policies that push the region towards the abyss and plunge countries that are not parties to this crisis into the circle of conflict. So a very serious development here. Obviously, the Iranians put a statement out hours ago that it would also be targeting other facilities in the UAE and also in Saudi Arabia, and those were the Al Hassan gas field in the UAE and the Al Jubail petrochemicals complex in Saudi Arabia and the Samref refinery also in that country.
And Victoria, you know, you're talking about an attack here in Qatar, but there's also been loud explosions in the Saudi capital. That as regional foreign ministers are due to hold an emergency meeting in Riyadh.
Yeah, that's right. There have been attacks across the GCC today. We've actually just had a raised security alert, threat alert here in Doha. We haven't heard any missiles being intercepted yet, but the threat level here has been raised. Now, in Saudi Arabia, a couple of hours ago, they heard several loud explosions in the capital, Riyadh. Saudi's Ministry of Defense
I heard some sound like interceptions. So we still haven't had the all clear yet from Home Front Command. There was 2 sets of missiles launched, or detected launched. And they still haven't come in all the way. And they also haven't canceled it. So I would assume they're incoming at this point.
To deter their enemy, but it doesn't seem for the moment that this is deterring Israel from attacking them this way.
All right, stay with us, Ali, because let's remind you of the 3 most senior members of Iran's government who've been killed by Israeli forces in targeted attacks. That's in the last couple of days. Well, Intelligence Minister Ismail Khatib is the latest senior official to be killed in an Israeli strike overnight. And he previously worked in the office of the former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. On Tuesday, Iran's security chief Ali Larijani was killed in an Israeli attack, and that was in Tehran. Larijani was appointed.
So we talked about all that stuff. We'll do super chats here really quick. Sean Hedman, been a member for a month. Thank you, Matt, for your live coverage. Massively helpful to not have to rely on mainstream media. Your work is reliable and greatly appreciated. Thank you for that. Me and the boss. Who's the boss? That was a show, too. Thanks for the super. Thank you, Matt. We appreciate all you do. Kate E. Kate, thanks for the super chat. Excited for arrival of my conspiracy light. Let's see, you got a t-shirt? Yep, t-shirt. Great coverage here. Thanks, Trigger. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the shirts. Still, I have the shirts and hats. I'm told I shouldn't wear them on the air, so I don't typically wear them. I have one behind, I don't know if you can see it or not. No, I can't get it out of the way, but there's a allegedly t-shirt behind me. And they have some pretty good stuff too. Pretty good quality. I made sure I tested them all out. I ordered them first and I put them on and made sure they were comfortable and the hats and stuff were good before I sold them. Yeah, it's very strange that we don't. Oh, hold on. Did they just clear it? Okay. Looks like they intercepted them all. That is why we didn't hear anything. Okay, that would make sense. So what I will do is let me get this set up here. There's some codes coming in. So what I think what I'm going to do is if you want to still monitor and that kind of stuff, then you can go over to Offscript Radio. I'll put the link down in the chat. But you can go over to Offscript Radio, and it has more than what we've been looking at here, plus the radio, the military radio. So if you want to go over there, you're more than welcome to hang out and monitor and You'll hear the sirens and everything when stuff happens. Obviously, if I'm not there, I can't like manually switch to live cams and stuff when things are happening, but you have a lot of information there. So go ahead and check that out. And then how fast can we make interceptors? We can't keep up right now. So unless we, switch to like a wartime economy, we're not going to be able to keep up with anything that we're expending right now, to be honest. But I think what I'm going to do, since me and the kids are sick, I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but my voice is a little stuffy. But I'm gonna call it. I think there's not a lot going on, but I appreciate everyone being here. I appreciate the mods. Thanks for hanging out. All the members, all you guys that are watching, people that are donating and getting merch and stuff like that. It's all super helpful. A lot of you don't know I do this full time, and I have the 2 channels now. So I have TriggerSmart, which is kind of the one that's like my big channel, and then Off Script Radio will be where this war stuff will live, and also the 24/7 monitoring. But I will see you guys maybe a little bit later today, but most likely tomorrow. I have a huge migraine from whatever bug we have going on, and the kiddos are upstairs on cough medicine and stuff, so I'm ready to go spend some time with them. But I will see you soon, and make sure you guys take care of yourself. See you in the next one.